911. What
Am I on, baby?
I think so.
Okay. Whoa, 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 everybody. You know what time it is. You know what time it is. You know what time it is. It's REEL Vile Time. Vile Time, baby. We're on real Vile Time. That's right. Now, I'm going to introduce my co-host. We're going to introduce them real vile. First off is the Prime Minister, the Sinister, Mr. Ruthless Chris.
How's everybody doing tonight? What's going on, guys?
Hey, girl, hey.
Heck to the yeah, baby. Heck to the yeah. And then, of course, you got the all thriller, no filler, Miss Kelly, the Killer Miller.
Woo! Tower of the Hour in the house.
And you can't forget about me, baby. You can't forget about me. It's the G to the E to the R to the M. The T stands for thou, but you already knew that because you're a bunch of smart cookies. And of course, we're about to rip it up in a modern way. And I'm Mr. Germ T Ripper, and this is Real Vile. Oh la la, c'est la vie. What's everybody been up to lately?
I bought
Ruthless
a car
Chris,
today.
what have you been up to?
Oh shit! I'm all excited. Sorry. Go on, Chris.
You know, I've been hunkering down working on the shows we got coming up, the RPW shows. We got Jersey and Chicago coming up. I did this week sign up for Screenbox. I decided to give that a whirl. It's a very cheap service. It's like $24 for an entire year, or I paid. I didn't know if I was gonna like it or not. You know, I didn't know what the selection was gonna be. I kind of only got it to check out a movie I've been wanting to see that premiered last week that I'm going to talk about tonight. But it was $14 for 6 months.
That's dope.
Screenbox is pretty cool. Shudder's definitely got a beat. Its selection's a lot lower. I don't mean like tier wise. I mean, it's just not. It doesn't have as many, and it does have a little bit more of like a trashier side. One of the cool things I did notice on it, though, is it has a lot of like really cool documentaries. I jumped down a bunch of them. Like they had one about the making of like Fright Night 1 and 2. I watched one about Hellraiser 1 and 2. I watched one about Pet Sematary. I started one about Creep Show. So those have been all pretty cool. But yeah, aside from that, I haven't been doing a whole lot. Kelly's been kicking the shit out of me in Scrabble. That's
yeah. Scrabble boss, man. But I bought a car today. So I'm pretty excited about that. No more missing shows due to my shitty vehicle. I'll be seeing you in Chicago soon, Germ. I'm excited. Yeah. I mean, last week I was having the car issues. Instead of getting it fixed, I just bought me a new one.
That car was about to go any day now anyway.
Dude. It was. I bought it for $900. Literally hoping it would just make me through that winter, and it lasted a year and a half, you know? So like I think I got my $900 worth out of that last one. But yeah, it was time, and I'm super happy.
Man, oh man, it sounds like you guys are having some wild times. You got that Screenbox, you got that new car. I'm out here just keeping it day to day, keeping one day at a time. You know what I'm saying? But it's a very exciting night we have tonight. Man, we got a guest for you all, Mr. Chris LaMartina, best known for WNUF Halloween special. Ooh la la, so much good stuff about to go down. Before we get into all that, we're going to talk about some movies we've been watching. I'm going to start it off this week, I think. And I'm going to talk about a silly little movie I watched. It was called Miners Massacre. It's a 2002 movie. Also goes by the name of Curse of the 49er.
Wait. Did you say minor?
Minor,
minor, as in M-I-N-E-R. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, not the other way around, baby. You know me, I like them old.
Miner's revenge.
Not young, baby. I like them old.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to the
older the better for Jeremy.
Miners. No.
But anyway, this movie's got a group of friends discover gold deep inside an old mine. But then when they're taking the gold, there's a big hit and they awaken a dead miner who's hell-bent on protecting his treasure. Oh my goodness gracious, if you can't think of a bigger ripoff of a leprechaun, I don't know what is. Stealing a ghoul's gold and having them chase you around. The big plus for this movie, though, was the all-star cast, which include Richard Lynch, best known to me at least from the movie Bad Dreams, which is one of my all-time favorite horror movies. Karen Black, everybody knows who Karen Black is. Trilogy of Terror, all that good stuff.
Oh yeah.
There's so many amazing. This is such an amazing cast. It's unfortunate that all the talent is wasted. It was a chore to get through this film. It is super low budget, super campy, and it's made in 2002, and you will feel that 2002 vibe with all the highlights in the hair, all that Jennifer Aniston hair going on. All I can talk about is the hair, baby. I gave it a 2.5 just because I felt a little what's the word I'm looking for? Giving.
Meh.
Meh.
I felt like giving them a little extra star, so I gave them 2.5.
Feeling generous?
Yeah, generous. That's what I'm looking
Generous.
for. Ooh la la, Daddy's brain is not working today, baby. I was feeling generous, so I gave it an extra half a star. Make it 2.5 for the minor massacre, aka Curse of the 49er. And I watched it on DVD. I'm sure it's available on Tubi or some of the streaming services. If not, Freevee. It's on Freevee. So if you want to watch something silly, something wacky, and you've already watched Leprechaun, you can take a chance with Miner's Massacre, aka Curse of the 49er.
Man,
Now,
I've
how
really
about
been
you,
loving.
Mr. Ruthless Chris? What have you been watching?
Sorry.
No, go ahead, Kelly. What were you saying?
Oh, I was gonna say, I've really been loving movies from the early 2000s and late 1990s recently. I don't know, man. I've been drawn to them. I don't know what it is. I feel like I've seen this one before though, like years ago, but I'd have to rewatch it. I don't remember it for shit. I definitely remember the cover.
So the first one I'm going to talk about, and you know what, Kelly, I've been doing the same thing. Like I've been rewatching a lot of like 2000s movies.
Yeah.
They have like a really weird.
They do.
They're like at a really weird transition time. I'm going to talk about one later.
Okay.
This is the reason I got Screenbox is there's been a movie I've been wanting to check out, and it was in theaters for a week, like last week, and then it debuted on Screenbox last Friday, and Screenbox was cheap. I've been wanting to check it out anyway, so I gave Screenbox a roll. This is called The Outwaters. 2022 was when it was filmed by Robbie Banfitch. This thing, it was when it was making the circle or the festival circuits, it was getting a lot of buzz because it is a found footage movie, but the rumor was that they had done something that found footage hadn't done before, and it was a new breath of fresh air, and it was leaned into like cosmic horror and all this stuff, which it does pretty heavily. I really wanted to love this movie. Like it should have really been up my alley. It was kind of middle to me because it had really annoying characters. Like one of the things about found footage movies that can really hurt or add to is if the characters aren't likable or if like you have trouble watching them. And this movie is an hour and 40 fucking minutes. So the first hour of it is you have these hipster musicians go into the desert to film a music video, and they're pretty fucking insufferable. So first hour was pretty rough. Once it gets into the horror of it, it does do stuff that I've never seen a found footage movie do. But it does fall into some tropes that I really hated. The one I really hate in this is they did pinhole lighting, like flashlight lighting, where everything's black and you only have just what the flashlight's seeing. But it's so small in this that it's like looking through a pinhole. And there's really extended scenes of this, so like that really got on my nerves. The characters got on my nerves. The special effects were cool, and one of the things they did was everything was in camera. So like if they couldn't do it practically and in camera, they didn't do it, which with some of the things, like I can't really talk about what it goes into because I don't want to ruin it because it is worth watching. But like some of the things they did, it's very impressive how they did it in camera. So all in all, it was worth watching. It was an entertaining flick. They did do some things I've never seen a found footage movie do before, but they could have shaved off like 20 something, 30 minutes in this fucking thing. It was an hour and 40 minutes, not like 20 minutes they could have shaved off. And, you know, like a little lot less in the dark shit, and it probably would have been a lot better movie for me. So I'll give it 3. That's the Outwaters. I watched it on Screambox.
Outwaters, eh?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, there's been a lot of
talk
buzz about that movie. There's been a lot of buzz about that movie, and I wanted to check it out, but now after everything you said, I'm kind of thankful you checked it out, so I don't really have to check it out. But thank you, Chris. That's definitely a reason to get Screambox, though.
It's worth watching. I'll give it that. It's a unique movie. It did do something different. It's just getting there. That's the problem. And then some of the execution where you're just like, turn a fucking light on, man. You know, like I'm tired of hearing people scream in the dark, you know?
Right.
100%. I'm sick of hearing people scream in the dark too, baby. Turn on those lights. Let's have some fun let's see each other's faces, baby. You know what I'm saying? Anywho, what have you been watching, Miss Killer Kelly?
Well, speaking of slow movies that dragged the fuck on, this one is I woke up this morning and I seen it on Shudder, and I was like, yeah, I could go for a revenge movie. The cover looks all intense and like she's screaming, and I'm like, yeah, all right. Oh my God, it does not match the cover. This is Violation, 2020. It's a Shudder original, I believe, or is it not? Might not be a Shudder original, but it is on Shudder. Oh my God. The storyline on this is there's very little storyline actually between all the bullshit. Like this girl, she's got problems in her relationship, and she goes to go visit her sister and her sister's husband. Well, as the story's unhatching a little, some shit went down in their past. Sexual assault warning. And she wants to get her revenge. There it is. That's the storyline. This movie sucked because it could have been all right. There was some good gore in it. There was some really good gore in it, actually. Some good practical effects. But it dragged on way too much. So much unnecessary camera work. Like, it's like, let's zoom into these birds for like 5 minutes, or her hands putting on makeup. And it's just like, oh my God, just get back to the fucking story. Like, it was like each scene could have cut about 50% of that shit out. And this movie's an hour and 47 minutes long. So by the end of it, I'm just sitting there like, really? Really? I was like, I regretted actually starting this one this morning because I'm like, I made it this far through it. I might as well fucking ride out this storm. But yeah, man, it was. I wouldn't do it again. That one was just not good. Like at the end, I was just like, finally, I'm fucking going to work. But no. Violation, I think I'd give it 1.5. Like I said, the gore is good. It kind of, there's at one part where it's slightly softcore porn. There's dicks. They do show dicks in it. So like with the gore was good. There's some dismemberment that's all right. But other than that, what it takes to get to these scenes is just fucking nonsense. And that's what I have to say about that. Come for the gore, stay
for the dicks.
Dicks to the gore.
Were they at least good-looking penises? Because some penises are ugly, and you do not want to look at them. Were they okay-looking penises, or were they ugly penises?
It wasn't an ugly penis. That penis had a lot of screen time, though. It did.
It got a credit in the end.
Yeah, man. But yeah, I don't recommend it. 1.5 at most. Violation, Shudder original. There's so many better revenge movies to watch than this one. I'd skip this.
Well, I'm going to give you a big salute, baby. I'm going to give a big salute to Killer Kelly for taking one for the team. Sounds like you watched that one, so we don't have to. All right.
Yes.
The next movie I'm going to talk about is a 2015 British horror film called Robert. My goodness gracious gravy. Now, This
So
was
good.
a killer doll movie that I've been wanting to check out for a while, and I finally broke down and just did it because I got a box of random DVDs and I was digging through them. Had some friends over. It looked like it might be fun to watch. Oh baby, baby. I don't know what I was thinking. It wasn't really fun. It was kind of a chore to get through. Um, but I give it an extra point, half a point for being British. It starts off by saying that it's based on a true story, and I don't believe that for 1 second. It kind of
Killer doll movie?
blurs the idea of the Conjuring.
Robert, I've seen it. It's a true
Have you?
story, actually.
What's that?
The Robert doll's a real doll.
Aside from like the Conjuring and the Raggedy
Yeah,
Ann thing.
yeah. It's not this was another haunted doll like Annabelle, but it was I don't think this one was involved with the Warrens like Annabelle was. But there is legends of this doll. I've seen it on plenty of those shows that I watch when I'm, like the haunted shows. But
All
yeah.
right.
He's a real doll, and apparently there's a legend, like you gotta ask him to take your picture and stuff. The legend is actually more interesting than the movie, but go on.
That sounds legit. That sounds legitimate to
Yeah,
me because this movie was not very good.
I've seen it.
It says it's based on a true story, terrifying
Mhm.
supernatural occurrences, and the son acquires a vintage doll called Robert. Now, baby, it was given to him by a maid that's fired. Now, if you fire somebody and they give you something for free, get rid of that thing because it's gonna be trying to kill you and murder you. Because that's how it goes. Somebody gets pissed off at you and they're not giving you things for free for a reason. They're giving it to you because it's going to kill you and murder you. And that's kind of what this movie did to my eyeballs. It killed them and murdered them. So anyways, I'm giving it, I'm going to give Robert a 2 just because I love a killer doll movie. And this killer doll movie has a creepy ass doll. It is one of the ugliest killer dolls ever created, baby. This is an ugly doll. So it
The
gets the 2 for being ugly.
Yeah.
Other than that, you can watch it on Freevee.
Yeah, I've seen
Mr.
it. This
Ruthless
one's not
Chris.
good. I don't recommend it, but like definitely like look into the legend of the Robert doll. That is actually an interesting one. They could
Right,
make a better movie about it, and it could be just as successful as like Annabelle, I think, because the legend's a good one.
that's good to know, Killer Kelly.
Mhm.
That's good to know because now I want to look into that legend a little bit more. I thought it was just one of those based on a true story trying to make it creepier thing. But now that you done said that, I think I might want to look into that a little bit further.
Mhm.
That's good to know. I like that fact, dropping facts like the not whack. I like it. I love it. Give me more of it, baby. Mr. Ruthless Chris, what you got up next for us, baby?
So I talked last week about how one of our listeners, Mike Burns, sent me a stack of DVDs. Also, shout out to his podcast, the Super Kick Party Massacre. They talk horror and wrestling. Go check it out.
Oh,
But
yeah.
one of the reasons he sent me this box of DVDs was when we had Richard Tanner on, the director. We were talking micro budget filmmaking, and one of the movies he had talked about, called Pieces of Talent, we had not seen, and some of our other listeners have messaged me like, you have to see Pieces of Talent. So he sent me a copy. He's like, here, you can have this. I want you to see it. Check it out. And that's where all the other movies came from. He's like, hey, I'll fill out this thing with these extra movies I got laying around. So I checked out Pieces of Talent. Now this was an interesting movie. I really liked this one. It's the only movie this guy made. His name's Joe Stoffer. This is going to be interesting to talk about. Pieces of Talent it kind of is like a found footage serial killer movie, but it's done beautifully. It's brutal and beautiful at the same time. This was made by someone who I really wish was making more movies. The voice of this thing, the way it's executed, the way it's done, was like to the highest degree of like meticulousness, and you could tell, like, even though it's found footage, that everything was like tirelessly toiled over. It doesn't pull any punches in the gore. Like it's one of those things where like you have your August Undergrounds and stuff like that. Would be like your gritty version of this, and then like your shitty versions of this would be like my extreme pleasure or shit like that. This is like the Cadillac of those kinds of movies. What you have is this guy David Long, who plays himself, is a serial killer. He is killing these people for a specific reason, which won't come into play until the end of the movie. And I'm obviously not going to give it away. The guy that stars as David Long is fantastic. Like, this guy needs to be in more movies too. Kelly, do you remember Nick from the Infernal Names?
No.
He looks just like our buddy Nick. He looks and talks and acts just like our buddy Nick. It's really fucking weird. I can't recommend this enough. I'll give it 4.5. I'm not sure where you can find this. It was self-distributed by the director. Like I said, Mike sent me a copy to keep. He actually sent me 2 copies, one to send back and one to keep, because the Blu-ray has different special features than the DVD. So he sent me a copy on DVD and a copy on. I'm supposed to send one of them back and keep one. So thank you for that, Mike. But I can't recommend this enough. I don't know how more people aren't talking about this movie, how it's not considered a masterpiece of low budget filmmaking, micro budget filmmaking. I can't recommend this enough. Pieces of talent. Find a way to see it. It's fucking fantastic. 4.5 out of 5.
Well, hell yeah.
Ooh la la, that sounds very impressive to me. Very impressive indeed. We gotta track down some pieces of talent. I'm gonna look for that right away. I love everything you said, because those movies that you compared it to are all movies that I love to watch. Filthy, dirty, sleazy movies. And if this is the Cadillac of sleaze, baby, I'm gonna take it with ease. Ow!
Easy sleaze.
I've just never seen one of these style movies shot like this. Like, it still has that guy with a camcorder feel, but it's fucking gorgeous. Like the coloring of it and everything is just really, it's an interesting film. Just check it out.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, we gotta track it down, back it down, and we're gonna toss that ball over to Miss Killer Kelly. What you been watching, girl?
The next one's a new one that I've been seeing a lot of everywhere. It really caught my interest when it was on the cover of Rue Morgue. The Harbinger. Yeah, I kept saying it different ways. This is 2022. I rented it from Prime. It was directed by Andy Mitten. I was surprised to hear of. The guy that did Witch in the Window and another one that I just talked about, We Go On. So it was directed by that same director, which is pretty interesting.
And Yellow Brick Road, which I talked about in an early episode.
Yeah. This takes place during COVID. There's a girl, she's getting antsy like everybody was during the lockdown phase. Like, this takes place during the height of it, where everybody's still completely not going near anybody, wiping down their groceries when they come in the door. Well, she had a friend that has been having these crazy ass nightmares, and she takes the chance to go get out of her family's house to go stay with her friend that lives in a big city. Everybody's kind of worried about her because of the COVID and everything that was going on then. The girl's nightmares are just getting stronger and stronger, and they feature this like being that looks like a plague doctor sort of being that just keeps coming to her and telling her things like the end's getting closer and stuff like that. So the girl that goes to visit her now is also having these dreams. So they both contact a demonologist like online, and the demonologist tells them that it is indeed a demon. There's this demon and you got to be careful with him. He kind of works the way Freddy Krueger does. Like, the more you believe in him, the stronger he gets, and he comes in the dreams. So there was like that Nightmare on Elm Street sort of little vibe for a minute. But once he gets what he wants with you, he has this ability to erase you from existence. Like, nobody remembers who you are. Nobody even knows you were born. It's as if you've never existed. But every once in a while, there might be like a little thing left behind, like a picture of you, and people can't figure out what it is. I liked this movie. I liked how it played it did a thing where it kind of played between you didn't know if she was dreaming or if it was reality, and you're like, wait, is this a dream sequence or is this real? And I really liked the way they did that in this. It was a decent movie. It wasn't that gory. It's kind of bleak at some parts, but I mean, I'd recommend it. I'd give it about a 3.5. It's not bad. It wasn't bad. I'm really liking the movies that this guy has. You know, it started with Witch in the Window and We Go On, and this one's just as good. It seems like he's gotten a bigger budget now, and I mean, he's good with it. I would recommend this. It's all right. It does seem like it was kind of like a allegory for like the fear we had for COVID when all that was going on. So there is kind of like metaphor going on there, but it was decent. I didn't hate it. I actually
Nice. I like what you're saying. I like what you're saying, baby. The Harbinger. You said you rented it, or where is it streaming somewhere?
I rented it on Prime. So yeah, you can. I think it was like $4 or something that I rented it for. But yeah, it wasn't bad at all. It just came out, so
Would you say it was worth that $4 rental?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I mean, if I was at Family Video still and I seen it, I wouldn't be mad that I pulled that movie off the shelf and took it, you know? Like that's the way I look at renting movies off of Prime nowadays since we don't have our video stores, but yeah. It was worth a watch.
I like it. I love it. I need more of it, baby, because when you say dream demon, when you say bleak, these are all buzzwords that get me buzzing. Now I want to watch The Harbinger for sure.
I really like the idea of like the plague doctor monster too. That's something I haven't really seen much of before either, you know? Yeah.
Ruthless Chris, have you seen this or no?
No, I've been wanting to see it. I was hoping it would pop up somewhere to stream, but I hadn't seen it. I do like most of this guy's movies. A lot of people really enjoyed Yellow Brick Road. I did not like it at all. But aside from that, everything else I've seen was very good. So yeah, I definitely wanted to check it out. It's something that's been on my radar. It's something I wanted to see, but I haven't watched it yet.
All right. Well, the last movie I want to talk about is one I watched just because it starts with the letter N. Because I'm doing February, where you watch a movie you've never watched before for every letter of the alphabet. And baby, okay. I've already seen Nekromantik, and I've been putting this off and putting it off, and I finally bit the bullet and watched Nekromantik 2. Oh my goodness gracious gravy. Now, I will tell you, it is definitely a more enjoyable film than Nekromantik. I will give it that much. I will say that it's still gross. It's still a very gross movie, but it was funnier. It had a little bit of humor than the original Nekromantik, and that puts it a little bit above just being gross. But it is a disgusting movie, and if you know anything about, I'm not even gonna try and pronounce this man's name right, but Jorg Bootgerit. I know that's wrong, and I'm not trying to pronounce it right because if you're familiar with his work, everything he does, everything that's available to be watched is disturbing and gross and hard to watch and bleak. So having a little bit of humor in Nekromantik 2 really did a lot for it. But if you don't know anything about this film, it's about a female nurse desperately tries to hide her feelings for necrophilia from her new boyfriend, but still has pieces of the corpse of the first movie's hero in her possession. Oh my goodness gracious gravy. Yeah. Pieces of a former boyfriend. And by pieces, we mean his rotting penis and his head. And it's a really gross movie. If you like really gross things, and you're familiar with Nekromantik and you're willing to bite the bullet and watch Nekromantik 2, baby, it's streaming on Shudder. It's streaming on AMC Plus. I give it 3 stars just because it's really, really gross and a little funny. All right. Have either of you seen Nekromantik 2?
I have not.
Yeah.
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 Chris doesn't sound excited about it.
I like
I mean-
the Ruthless Chris. Mr. Ruthless Chris was a little bit hesitant to admit he's watched Necromantic too.
I mean, I own a copy. I have a bunch of dog shit DVDs in my
So do
basement. I
I.
do own a copy of this movie, but yeah, it's not something I'd really recommend to anybody. It's just a lady banging corpses.
Fair
Hey.
enough, because there are actually better movies out there about necrophilia that don't take an hour and 44 minutes to get their point across. Um, but anyways, yeah, I gave it 3 stars just because it's really really gross and a little funny. But in actuality, I only recommend it to people who like really disturbing things. I'll read all right, okay now, baby. I'm gonna keep this terror train moving real quick. Mr. Ruthless Chris, what's next on your agenda? What are you gonna talk about real quick now?
So while I was cleaning up today, I threw on I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. Because I had to
Part 2 now.
had some unanswered questions after I rewatched the first one. I had never seen the sequel. Okay. I wanted to say I had never bothered because you guys, if you remember my rant from last week.
Yeah. You don't have to explain why you never bothered.
This one was fucking baffling. I didn't realize that Broken Lizard's Club Dread was a parody of this movie. It had some really funny cameos that like you would only get in early 2000, late 90s movies. Like you had Jack Black as a weed dealer in a dreadlock wig and a Hawaiian shirt and some bad Oakleys, and everything he said had to do with weed. And anytime he was on screen, it was weed. There's a scene where he's playing with his weed and he's talking with his weed plants. Everything's weed. They had Jeffrey Combs, Reanimator and all that. One of my favorite B movie actors, king of the awkward love scene, in there as a hotel clerk, and they gave him big buck teeth for some reason. Like just gave him some buck teeth, which I found endlessly amusing. This movie was even bigger dog shit than than I Know What You Did Last Summer. It was not even fun to watch. Freddie Prinze Jr. is in this thing, the whole thing, and he's in like a planes, trains, and automobile scenario where he's just hopping from ride to ride to get to Jennifer Love Hewitt's character because they just up and take off to the Bahamas. So he's in whatever fishing town the first one happens in. He gets attacked by the rain slicker guy and survives, and then he knows it's coming after his girl who's off in the Bahamas. So it's like him jumping on planes and hitching rides and commandeering boats to get to the finale of this fucking movie. And he's only with her in the fucking finale. And one of the things I realized earlier, and I said in the group chat, was like, how did Freddie Prinze Jr. get work? It had to be just because he was pretty, because that dude could not act at all. Like, this is a day and age where Josh Hartnett was around. You could have still had the spiky haired, dumb looking guy who could at least act. Josh Hartnett could at least act. You watch The Faculty, that's a child who can act in a horror movie. This dude just looks like he's staring into the sun every fucking thing. He's just like doll faced, like it's like watching like Ricky from Trailer Park Boys. Like you look into his eyes and there's just nothing going on in there. And that's Freddie Prinze Jr. All right, I'll get off that rant.
Freddie,
you already know who the killer is because it fucked it up at the end of the first one, but then it tries to throw you a little twist in there. Mekhi Phifer and Brandy are in this thing. It's dog shit. Fuck this movie. And there's another one. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get through. I Will Always Know What You Did Last Summer, which
still
makes
always
it up on the original cast altogether. The other thing I noticed about this one that I noticed about the first one was this is also another director that only made like 4 movies, and it's really weird the movies he makes. So the first movie he made was the original Sylvester Stallone Judge Dredd. Then he comes off of that, makes the sequel to I Know What You Did Last Summer, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. And then he makes a Ray Liotta gangster pick called Phoenix and a soccer movie called Goal.
Goal.
And that's it. And then he made a Ray Liotta or a Harvey Keitel movie in the early 90s about like a gangster movie. And that's all he made. So like I don't know what the fuck is up with this series and like why the first one like was a big hit and the guy directed but nothing but dog shit afterwards, like 4 dog shit movies. Why this guy made weird movies in this one. This whole fucking franchise puzzles me. I don't know why I keep putting myself through it. There's still one more to go. And I guess a reboot or a sequel or something in the works where they're bringing back the Prince and they're bringing back the Hewitt as adults.
Ryan
Probably still a
Phillippe, or did he
guy
die in the first?
with a rain slicker. You know what? Like, how does no one notice a guy in a rain slicker with a hook? Like in both of these movies, he has run around very public places. Like in this one, there's a scene where he is in the Bahamas at a dance club where there's like like young people drinking and dancing to techno music, and then there's just a guy in the railing and a giant group of people in a rain slicker with a hook just hanging out, and no one's like, this is kind of fucking weird, isn't it, guys? Yeah, like what is up with this guy who's dressed for fishing in Maine down here in the Bahamas where it's 1,000 fucking degrees? And why has he got a hook? We're over here trying to have mezcal and fucking tequilas and touch this girl's boobs, and the hook man is hanging out the club fucking up our vibes. So yeah, I don't know. I got a lot of problems with this franchise. Thank you, Mike Burns, for giving it.
What? Go on, I'm sorry.
And with that, I'm done. I'm still gonna watch the last one. I know I'm gonna. I don't know why I'm doing this to myself.
You kind of have to now. Like, you made it this far. It's like me with that Violation movie, man. You made it this far. You better fucking see it to the end.
It was the worst movie I saw this week, and I watched a goddamn found footage movie about time traveling Sasquatches. Okay.
Heard.
Oh my goodness gracious, gravy. Well, I have never seen any of the sequels to the I Know What You Did Last Summer, and I don't think I'm going to. But if you were going to give this a star rating, Mr. Ruthless, how many stars would you give it? And is this streaming anywhere if anybody wants to watch it?
I don't know. That, like I said, Mike gave me the triple pack. It looks like it's on Hulu. You can watch it on fucking Hulu. I give it 2. It is a movie. There's one of the things I watched this week, which I did have more fun with. I wouldn't even really consider a movie. It was so poorly done. So I'll give it 2 because it was a movie.
Okay.
All right, I'll read all right now. Let's toss it over. The last movie we're going to talk about before we get to our guest is going to be Killer Kelly. What you got for us, baby doll?
This one is another Shudder original. This is 2020 as well. It kind of goes a little sci-fi route here. This is Superdeep. This is loosely based on, did you hear the borehole they found, or the boreholes, how they're trying to get to like as deep as they can go in the earth? Well, apparently in Murmansk, Russia is the world's deepest borehole in real life. And there's supposedly recordings that they took down there, which sounds like people screaming like it's hell or something, like when they lowered some shit down there. So this is slightly loosely based on that. It is a Russian movie. It's dubbed. There's a research team in Russia, and they're going down in this deep borehole because obviously, like, people's been working down there. There's some shit going wrong down there, like people are going crazy. They want to know what the fuck's happening to the workers. People are dying. So they go down there, with a biologist to try to figure some shit out. And come to find out, there's this like mold spores that are turning their workers into like creatures, like first they get like superhuman strength, and then they get kind of crazy and they kind of morph into some weird creatures. It's a decent creature flick, man. Decent creature sci-fi flick. Kind of pays homage to The Thing in some sort of way that isn't yes. As good, I don't know. There's not a lot to the storyline. There's some great gore in it. There's some great kill scenes. It's a fun movie. It's action from the beginning to end. Although I mean, it's not amazing. It's like it has like the feel of The Thing, but of The Thing mixed with like a sci-fi original. You know what I'm saying? Kind of goes with the cheesy route at times, but it's all right. It's all right. I didn't hate it. The gore is fun. There's some good practical effects, which, yeah, I don't know. I'd give it a 3, 2.5, 3. I can't give it much more than that, but it was a decent movie. A little too long at an hour 55 minutes. So yeah, they could have cut that short a bit, but by the end of it, I did get a little bored. I mean, you can tell what kind of movie it's going to be like right off the rip, you know? But it was all right. It's decent. It's worth a watch.
Sounds like a good time. Sounds like a good time. What's the name of that flick one more time, baby?
Superdeep.
I'm gonna have to chime in on this one.
Yeah.
Because I have seen Superdeep. It was one of the earliest reviews I think I did on like episode 2 or 3 of this.
Did you?
I loved Superdeep.
Did you?
I thought when she said Sci-Fi Channel original, I didn't get that vibe at all because the special effects
Really?
were fucking great. It
the
did not have
special
a
effects
low
blew that away. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I think it was
When you
more
say
story based.
When you say sci-fi original movie, I think of like Mega Python versus Sharktopus, CGI
right.
shit stuff. This is not that. In fact,
No, I said like I gotta give it a little more credit than that. You're right. Go on.
Before the Last of Us series started, this is actually the closest I would give to somebody using that concept of spores and boron funguses to do a creature feature. Although this does, like she said, go more into thing homage. It is a Russian flick, so it is subtitled. I didn't think it. I had a complete opposite experience with it. I loved it a lot. Where she felt it dragged, I thought it was a great length. It really had a cool finale, cool monsters. There were some great visuals.
Cool finale for sure.
I thought the Superdeep was great. I've even watched it twice. So I recommend it. I gave it 4 myself.
Really?
And I think it's definitely something to check out on Shudder if you don't mind reading subtitles.
Definitely check it out. Definitely check it out. And it is worth a watch. You're right. I'm saying it was I guess it would be somewhere on the level between a sci-fi original and The Thing, like in the middle.
No.
But I wouldn't I don't know. Maybe it's just
it is nowhere near a Sci-Fi Channel because it has great acting, great special effects.
It does have great acting, and the ending is badass. I'll give it that. It's definitely worth a watch, man. I still give it a 3. I give it a hard 3. But check it out. Okay.
That is too legit to quit, baby doll. And with that, I like to skip a little forward. I want to get right to it. We got a special guest, and baby, I can't wait to talk to Mr. LaMartina. Let's get with it, baby dolls.
Woo! Hell yeah.
And now for our feature presentation.
Whoa, 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 whoa. All right, very exciting to be back here with the one and only, the crazy, the amazing indie film director, the one and only. I'm going to say it before you say it, Miss Chris LaMartina. Mr.
Hey, Miss
Chris LaMartina.
I think you called him a miss.
It's fine. It's whatever.
Did I?
You did.
Oh my God. We were just talking about how I stress out about things. You're going to have me stressing out about that for a week now. Thanks. Thanks, big dog. Anyway,
you gotta get your therapist something to do. You know?
Yeah, that's why I grew the mustache, just to make it painfully clear.
Making sure I am not a 9. You're a man. You're 100%.
I don't give 2 shits. It's all good.
I am a man, ma'am. How you doing today, Chris?
I'm doing good, guys. How y'all doing?
Not
Pretty
bad,
good.
not bad. Thanks for stopping on by and talking movies with us. Appreciate
Absolutely.
you coming on.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So most recently, you dropped the Out There Halloween mega tape,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that
which
was fun.
I had bought right around October.
Uh-huh.
So perfect time for me to get it, which is a kind of sequel to WNUF Halloween special, correct?
Yeah. So I think it's, in some ways you could say it's a spiritual sequel, but there are through lines, so it is theoretically like a true follow up, just not in the sense about like the Weber house is not the focus, but it exists in the same universe. There's returning characters. I would just say it's not. I always struggle to say is it a horror movie or not. I mean, it's definitely a Halloween movie, but I don't even know if it's a horror movie. Yeah.
I think there's a little bit of horror sprinkled into it, but it's more like a nostalgia trip Halloween experience. Like kind of like if your parents left you alone in the 90s and they were going out to a Halloween party and they let you order pizza and you were just watching cable, but like something kind of weird was going on with the through line of the TV program you were watching, kind of thing.
Yeah, man. It was even hard to call it a movie. You know, like
totally.
the way it was set up, it was more like the pace of like Adult Swim or something, you know? Like,
no, it's funny you say that it's like the movie. I remember years ago there was a review of WNF that had said, I don't know if I'd call WNF a movie as much as I'd call it as an experience.
Yeah.
And at that point I started this revelation. I was like, oh my God, I don't want to make movies anymore. I want to make experiences. And I feel like that's sort of like what like the sequel became. I was like, well, we kind of established this format that you can do these things like that. And I was like, man, like if I was to do that again, I mean, even the impetus for the sequel, it was like, I was really attracted to that format now that I understood it better and decided what I wanted to do. But then two, I was like, man, like how would I do that in a different way? And fast forwarding 10 years, like to 1994 and then 1996 as well. I was like, okay, I could kind of see it might not be a real feature, but whatever, just make it fucking insane and weird.
Yeah. I will say, I watched the Halloween special WNUF on Shudder.
Mm-hmm.
I did not look into it when I watched it. I watched the same night. I watched Ghost Watch.
Uh-huh.
I did not know it was a new movie.
Yeah.
You got I literally just thought it was fucking like an 80s throwback thing.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, like so I experienced it maybe in the way you intended, like somebody to come across this thing. But I was like, this is really interesting and weird. How have I never heard about this before? Because I turned it on because of the cover,
That's really cool. My favorite story like that is years ago. So my friends lived in this house out in, actually you said you were in Toledo. So they were in this house in Columbus, this punk house called Legion of Doom. And this guy basically their friend was like, I found this tape in the basement and I don't know, but I want to watch it tonight. It just says WNF Halloween special. And like, he like brought this, like he basically just like took the movie and put it on VHS or had the tape from when I left one somewhere. And he put it on for his friends. And the first couple of minutes, they're like, well, this is really cool. And they're like, wait, hold on a second. Chris made this because the kids that he was living at this punk house with were from Baltimore and they knew me. And but like, I love the idea. I love the idea that this guy was like, that this guy tried to convince his friends this was real. And that's like, whenever people try to do that with WNF or the new one, I'm like, this fucking rules. Like, it makes me very happy to be part of that sense of tomfoolery.
Absolutely. And the visual style is good at selling it. Like there's a lot of throwback style horror, especially nowadays with like Stranger Things being a big thing. That wasn't really the case when you did the first one.
That's true. Yeah.
But like a lot of them don't really nail the visual style as much. Like especially with Mega Tape, it feels like a bled out VHS tape. Like it really does. Like the way the colors, like there's a lot of not definition, a lot of like just neat ones, like a shirt will catch the lighting and it'll just be like blood out and shit. It really did well in that.
Thank you so much, man. I mean, like there was always sort of this issue about like how much degeneration is too much degeneration. Like someone who grew up like, duping tapes or even just like editing between two VCRs, like shit got fucked up looking really fast, right? And like I kind of love that. Like there's this romanticism about something looking fucking awful, because it really reminds me of my childhood. But it's funny, I knew early on with both the movies, like especially with WNF, I remember talking to somebody and they were like, you got to shoot this project in HD. And I was like, no, I don't. That would actually be a terrible idea. Like, that's not what this movie is at all. And they were like, yeah, but you're not gonna be able to distribute it anywhere. And I think a lot of times in my career now, and I say career in quotation marks because this is, it's not a fun career. But I'll say is like, there'll be times where I make decisions because I want to do it a certain way, not because I think it's the smartest business decision or even because it's smart to market the movie. But I knew with WNF and the sequel, it's like you have to shoot at standard definition. It has to kind of look like shit because that's ultimately the aesthetic. Yeah.
I mean, not only that, what you're trying to replicate would be a TV show with no budget where they're sending, a camera guy who's probably, from the local news or something, with a cup of coffee and a 80-pound camera to a house somewhere or something. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, kicking off off of what my man Ruthless Chris here is saying, the authenticity of your film is something amazing. You know, I wrote for Daily Grindhouse for a while, and I remember people talking about WNUF Halloween special, and the way that people talked about it, it sounded like it'd been around forever. And you know, and I think you had a big hand in that. And I just read about this, you know what I'm saying? With the where you would go to conventions and just lay VHS tapes around. People pick these up, think it's a real thing. You're driving around Baltimore, throwing these tapes out the window, people picking it up like it's some strange thing from a UFO. Baby, tell me a little bit more about this Whisper campaign. Will you do it for me one time?
Absolutely. So I think when we first made the movie, we were really fortunate in the sense that like I finished the movie in March, maybe February, March of 2013, and it was right before we were about to start filming Cauldron of Cthulhu. We were literally editing WNF while we were in pre-production on Cauldron of Cthulhu. So because it was a Halloween movie, and I sort of basically found a distributor, I was so sick of finishing movies and not having it come out on DVD or Blu-ray for a year. And I like made a deal with them. I was like, the movie just has to be out by October, right? Like I want a Halloween movie out by October. So by releasing it in March, I basically had a lot more time than I ever had to sort of like, you know, plant some seeds and do this Whisper campaign. So initially we put it up on torrent sites to get people to just like, you know, but not with no marketing infrastructure. Like that's the most important thing. Like putting something on torrenting sites with the marketing infrastructure, it's probably like a stupid decision. You're just fucking yourself over and costing you money. With the other way around, we had this way of people being like hardcore horror fans would be like, what the fuck is this? And seek it out. And that's ultimately what the plan was. Like I'll tell the story this way. My buddy Nathan, who's become a good friend, he wasn't always a good friend because I met him just through the movie. He said he was at the store one time. He said, I just found the DVD that said WNF Halloween special. And he's just a Halloween freak, like loves everything Halloween. So he's like, I picked up something just because the name Halloween was in it. And I thought it was like a shitty Halloween special. Mm-hmm. So that's like with these movies, I specifically realized like that's who I'm trying to connect with. Like people like me, like every year I make a compilation of like bad Halloween clips, right? And we show it at like a local movie night. And it's something I live for. It's something I seriously collect. And those were the folks I was trying to sort of like micro target. So when we had these DVD, when we had the VHS, we made about 50 tapes. I mean, we literally like, you know, Melissa, my then girlfriend, now wife, we left them in like the bathroom at horror conventions. We went to thrift stores, left them there. We threw them out the car window a couple times. Like, and it really was because it was like, if somebody found this, like how, like, you know, like if I fucking found like one of my favorite tapes in the whole goddamn world I got from a yard sale years ago. It just says Halloween 1992. This person sold it to me for $25, and it's literally their home movies from Halloween 1992. But it's like amazing, and that's what I'm trying. Like that's that magic is what I was trying to create. You know?
Yeah, that like unknown. What is this? What's the story? That like what the hell did I just find? Maybe this is something I shouldn't be watching.
Totally,
kind of like voyeurism to it. Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely nailed it with that, man. If that's where you're going.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
How old were you in the 90s? I gotta know.
So I was born in 1985.
But you were okay. You remember? Okay.
Yeah. So like, yeah.
I'm 42. Mm-hmm. You know, Germ's in his 40s. Kelly's getting there.
38.
So we were like teenagers in the 90s. So like what you did with Megatape literally was like recreating what I in my skewed mind remember TV being in the 90s. Like you didn't just do like commercials that were bent towards the furthering of the narration or Halloween theme ones. You did ones from just like attorneys. Yeah. And like, you know, just like what you would fucking see, like what just some random, you know, like the shitty mattress guy got $45 together, and you know, like
the jeans one was funny. I laughed at the jeans.
Oh, thank you so much. That my I wrote the music. I wrote the lyrics to that, and then my buddy John Walker did the jingles, and I was like, dude, these jingles brought to life. But so like for me, the 80s was okay. I'll talk to you about, because I mean, like I was born in 85, so I probably wasn't very aware of the 80s directly as much as that. I'm the youngest of 3 kids. I'm an accident, and I really my siblings had all these great tapes that became like how I watched Monster Squad was the first time was a tape that my brother taped off TV. You know, so like my introduction to a lot of great movies was my brother's old VHS tapes, and like that was very like watching old 80s media was very prominent. Like when I wrote WF, I remember I and my aunt, God bless her, this sweet old superstitious Italian Catholic woman, she taped like an obscene amount of stuff off the television. Like she has like hours of the Challenger explosion news coverage that she just taped off the fucking TV for some reason. I guess she thought it would be important one day. But I mean, like she literally would have talk shows about like, you know, if your kid's wetting the bed into like way later. And I took a whole stack of them. And then I locked myself in my, I was living in a basement with some roommates back when I was writing WF. And I spent a whole weekend watching those and writing my first pass of the script. And with the sequel, it was really more like you guys are saying, like I was more conscious. I was consuming the most media that I ever consumed, like from a decade standpoint in the 90s, right? Because I watched a fuck ton of TV. I came home from school and watched, you know, cartoons and then tabloid talk shows, sightings, things like Unsolved Mysteries. And that's what I was really trying to figure out, like what things fucked me up the most. In a you know, not like fucked me up like traumatic, but like, you know, like sort of like shaped a worldview of media.
Stuck with you.
Yeah, stuck with me. Thank you. Yeah.
I actually grew up very similar. My dad used to be at one point had HBO. So my dad would go on these tangents of like taping 3 or 4 movies on one tape. And there would just be this box of just random labels. It'd be like the most like Sharky's Machine, Temple of Doom, Gone with the Wind. You know, like just like these really weird random tapes I grew up with that like one of the first ones I had that way was Watchers, the Corey Haim Sasquatch movie.
Oh,
yeah. Totally.
So that really is how my formation of media was, and Monster Squad was one of them as well. Monster Squad was my Goonies as a kid. Which is why I think I turned out the way I was, because I saw that first, the Goonies, you know?
I have the tape I have that I watched so much growing up. And I was so stoked when I think it was Anchor Bay finally released Monster Squad, because I literally watched this tape into high school. And it was like tape from when I was like, you know, like 5 years old. It was Monster Squad, part of the Michael Caine miniseries about Jack the Ripper. And then this really great Baltimore had this thing called Evening Magazine, and it was just like a nightly news show, and they did a story about about like Orson Welles' War of the Worlds, about how like, you know, like how like he basically like freaked the whole fucking town out. And I always think that story on that episode of Evening News stuck with me with what we did with the Out There Halloween mega tape, right? Like the idea of like, what is Halloween, and is all Halloween always a ghost thing, or can Halloween be something different, but still that's sort of the idea of trickery, trick or treat, if you will, without spoiling anything. But
I did like how you guys went into like your version of a like Unsolved Mysteries type UFO government conspiracy kind of thing. That was a fun direction it went in. I didn't really see it coming with how it was set up more as in the first half, you know, like a talk show. Yeah.
Well, and that's one thing that's interesting too. You bring that up, and I'm still like debating how much I want to talk about what the movie's about, like in a lot of the podcasts, because like hopefully it makes people like check it out and then like go in blind. Like I love the idea of someone seeing that movie and only seeing the cover or the description, because like the twists and turns it takes, you're like going into it. I mean, I don't know what it was like for you guys, but like you know, the first half hour being like a talk show, it's like, where the fuck is this going? Like I remember actually I'll shut the fuck up, because like it's literally one of those things where it's like I don't want to say
broad strokes.
Yeah. But I am excited, because it's like, that's what's interesting. Most people, when they see a movie now, they already kind of know, like almost like, you know, 60% of the movie already. I mean, you don't know necessarily how a movie is going to end, but like most of the twists and turns, you kind of know from a trailer or a poster or how other people online are talking about it. And so far, we've actually been pretty fortunate to have folks still going pretty blind.
Yeah,
I went
I went in completely blind. Chris handed me the DVD yesterday. I just swooped by his house, like, all right, is this what we're watching? Kind of watched it
Nice.
while I was working today. Like, I'm a graphic designer. I work from home. And
Okay,
that was
cool.
an easy one where I could just like work and then pop up and pay attention to. Like it was
Yeah.
a fun watch.
I was gonna say that's funny.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like it's definitely tough for me too. Like watching stuff that's like horror movies are hard to watch when I'm
Yeah.
doing other stuff because like you'll
Yeah,
miss
yeah.
cool shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. I have a lot of the movies that we review. Like I'm usually, I don't know, I'm a procrastinator. I ain't gonna lie. So we get down to the last day, and I'm like, shit, I gotta watch this, But like yours is good.
Totally.
Yours was a good one to watch while working. I was like, okay, I can do this,
Well, and essentially that's the other thing that's funny too. It's like with the original and this one, I am sort of making something with the mindset that it's background noise, right?
Mhm.
Like in the sense that like you could put this on at a Halloween party and be okay.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
and like the commercials or things that are sort of repetitive or sort of weird, like just like it is. I don't know. The movie's really about, and I had a conversation just recently about with one of my buddies about like the idea of like making a movie that's obviously you want a movie to be plot, but you also want a movie to be atmosphere and vibe. And I
Yeah.
think like I've always like leaned into the fact that like what I want to do, knowing that I do shit for myself more than like a studio or anything like that. Like I
Mhm.
love that I can just like drench my movies in vibe and not give a shit about having me be like a slave to plot.
Yeah, I love
for
that.
better, for worse, but I like it that way.
Yeah, it's great, man.
Absolutely.
I enjoyed it for sure. It was funny. A lot of it
Thank
was funny. I just like kept popping up from my computer and laughing. Like, this is good, dude.
What
Thanks.
one of the things I had noticed, not the first time, the second time was how many dick jokes you hit in the fucking.
I know.
Like,
I feel like yeah.
I didn't catch the vagina crop circle the first
Yeah.
time around. I probably shouldn't be giving this away.
Yeah, it's all, I was gonna say, I mean, like it's one of those things too with those, like I found like, I mean, it's there's certain things that are just like the 90s that are just like it's interesting trying to understand the 90s. Like it feels so much more sexual too, like we sort of like obviously like Bill Clinton got elected and it's like like it's like somehow like some conservative like cultural things coming out from the Reagan era to there, like you get to be a little bit goofier, but like at the same time too, like I also feel like some of my dick and just like sex jokes, I'm like, oh my God, maybe I went too far. Like maybe it's like too goofy.
I thought it was great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Never too goofy, never too sexy, baby. You know how
Yeah.
we do. You know how I like it. Now, I want to ask you real quick. Now, it seems like a lot of your influences may come from like Roger Corman, for instance. Seems like a big influence on you. I'm looking here, and a lot of things are based on things you actually experienced in Baltimore, props you used in other movies, and so on and so forth. Things that actually happened to you. What are some of your influences, would you say? Would you say Roger Corman was a major influence on you or nah?
I like Roger Corman from the sense that I like this guy that's like super economical and like really thought about what resources he had. And I think that's ultimately something I do take in mind, take in consideration when we make a movie, because I'm like, okay, what do I have at my disposal right now? Right. Like locations, actors, like props. I mean, I think specifically with the WNF movies, you're making a movie with like a bunch of people in like Halloween costumes. Like if I go downstairs, I'm like, okay, I'll put someone in a fucking Viking helmet because I have a Viking helmet, or a gorilla costume or things like that. But I would say from a like a tone or storytelling standpoint, I don't know about that. Roger Corman. I mean, one of my dreams, I think I'm going to try to do it before I turn 40. I'm trying to do a 4-day feature, and that is absolutely because I'm just like so fascinated by Roger Corman. But I don't know. I will say I'm really impressed with his ability to do things cheaply, and I think that we've made all the movies for nothing. I mean, like the movies, like the biggest budget I had was Call Girl, and that was $41,000.
Yeah,
You made that
baby,
for
everything you
41,000?
said.
Yeah.
Everything you said, baby. Now that's what I'm talking about. All the economics, man. All your recycling, all your practicality, baby. Now that's what I'm talking about. All that. That's what I was thinking about when I said Roger Corman, Chris LaMartina, aka one and the same, baby. You are the living embodiment of a man who's not dead yet, and I totally dig that.
Thank you.
After watching Call Girl Cthulhu, I would have guessed more Stuart Gordon.
So I was gonna say, I mean, I think Stuart Gordon is like, I mean, amazing. I mean, I do even like like, I don't even know if I would call these people like influences from a standpoint of like their influence in my work as much as I love them. Like I don't want to sound like I don't think they're talented, because like Stuart Gordon, like, you know, Reanimator's obviously fucking funny and brilliant. I think God, even like, what was that movie he did? Stuck. Stuart Gordon recently did one, Stuck, with John Leguizamo. It's like a weird thriller that was fucking phenomenal. So good. But I was gonna say, even like the full moon movies, I love that stuff growing up. I mean, I love a lot of horror movies. I will say what my influence is broadly is I like making horror films that have a certain sense of levity, even that when they're dealing with fucked up things or tragic things. I think it's important for me to like know that people go into horror movies because this world is fucked up and depressing and lonely. And I think that like going into a horror movie, you don't want to just get beaten down with more depressing bullshit. Like, I do think we need to have horror films that speak to it, the fact that like, you know, like life is worth celebrating to some degree, or we can find the humor in tragedy or death, I guess.
I think you definitely hit that with Mega Tape for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Like, if I remember correctly, does it? You know, I shouldn't even give up. But
we can talk after, if you want about that.
One thing I did want to ask you, because it was one of those things where like while I was watching it earlier, I had to run to my phone to be like, how the fuck do you know Stavros?
Stavros.
I was watching Call of Cthulhu earlier, and it goes to like, you know, like
the John montage. Yeah,
that a character was experiencing, and one of them is Stavros in a hotel room, and it's very young Stavi.
Yeah, so I was gonna say,
I was like, was that fucking Stavros? And I had to pull out Letterboxd real quick and be,
because he looks so differently now. So
yes,
so it's funny.
Does.
I've known Stavros because he's a Baltimore guy. I mean, like, you know, when he start doing that accent, you know, that's a Baltimore accent, and he does it a little bit better to me. But like, you know, he's coming from Highlandtown. I'm coming over from Woodlawn, so you know, he's got a little bit more real OG shit with that voice. But that being said, Stavros was a comedian, and I'd seen Stavros perform many times. And my buddy Umar Khan is another comedian. They were good friends. They ran a room together here in Baltimore. And I was just friends with a lot of comedians because I just thought they were great. I mean, they were just great dudes to like hang out with, and like really smart and funny folks, like people I want to hang out with. And I basically, we like, you know, I think he auditioned, which is funny because I would just like put him in the movie without even auditioning. But he wasn't who he is now then. I mean, he really was just, doing his own room in Baltimore.
His name is a lot newer.
It's insane.
You know, like,
I mean, I'm so proud of him. It's like what he's done is like fucking like remarkable.
Yeah, he's on that, not to get off topic of horror, but and then I'll just throw this out there, we can get back on it, but he's like kind of on the forefront of these comedians kind of taking their own material back and doing it on YouTube or other places instead of. Well,
that's like, and I'm going to keep it off of horror for a little bit longer because I never get to talk about this stuff. But like, what I'll say is he is someone that is so fucking good at crowd work. And I think when you look at something like so like, you know, basically, and this is like, not to go down a road of like social commentary, but like, you know, marketing and social media basically puts in a situation where you're constantly reinforcing your relevance, right? So like a podcast is a great portion, a great sort of avenue to talk about, like, you know, I've got new content every week, right? A filmmaker is really tough because it's like, it takes me years to make a fucking movie, especially when I'm working a full-time job and that's how long it takes. So nights and weekends and no money. But I think because Stavros has this sort of, I mean, obviously he's a fucking brilliant, talented person, but he's like, he's really good at crowd working, so he can be insanely funny very fast. And then why not have a show where you're talking to people every week or however often it is? Like, it's brilliant. I mean, that's why everyone has a podcast now. It seems like.
Yeah. Sorry to get off topic with that guy.
Yeah. I enjoy talking about that stuff.
I'm a big fan of Stavi, and it was. You know, when something unexpected, like you're watching a movie or something, like somebody pops up, you're like, "What that can't fucking be this."
He's in another movie we made, but we cut his scene out because it didn't. And he's fine, but he's not himself. We didn't let him be as funny as he usually is. So we made a movie called "What Happens Next Will Scare You," and it's like a clickbait social satire. And like one of the things he's in like a fake cell phone video of these two sort of like Eurotrash folks witnessing a werewolf transformation, but he's just himself. Like, I mean, he's not himself because he would be funnier. He's like it's literally him and my friend Nicolette LaFay, who's in Call Girl Cthulhu as well. And I didn't give I should have just let him write his own dialogue. But instead we just gave him scripted lines because she didn't speak Greek, so he taught Nicolette Greek, and we had to shoot the scene. But there couldn't be improv if he was the only person that actually spoke Greek. So yeah.
Just look at it like a dog. Speak to your dog, just blinking I have no idea what you're saying to me right now.
Yeah. So funny.
With the distribution of this movie, you kind of started, or you're kind of doing your own thing on it to where you are distributing it yourself, as opposed to finding a Full Moon Video or Camp Classics or something like that to put it out for you. How's that working out as opposed to what your normal business structure was?
So financially, way better. I think I made a lot more money just selling directly to folks. So I think I should be clarified, but most distributors I've worked with, most of them I actually do think are pretty good people. I mean, I love Ryan from TerrorVision. I think Pop Cinema, I have a good healthy relationship with them. But I mean, selling directly to fans and or just folks, I should say, I don't care about the term fans, selling directly to people has been way more economically advantageous, to the point where it's oh, we could probably do this again. Whereas in the past, when you make these movies, I'd be why the fuck am I doing this? I keep losing money every time, or I break even every time, So that's something that's really interesting. But the bigger thing there is not so much about the money part. I mean, but I do think it's important to note, I never wanted to do self-distribution in the past, because I'd always heard from other filmmakers, do you want to be a filmmaker or do you want to be a distributor? Right. And at the time I didn't really totally understand that, but it's the amount of time in the first couple months making the movie, we spent whole nights or whole weeks backing up DVD orders, because that was when it first came out. It was a full-time job. I mean, my wife basically she's a freelance copywriter, copy editor, and she didn't take work because we had to fulfill orders, because that's how many orders we had. Now that dropped off and it was all gravy, but most filmmakers want to make films. They don't want to be packing orders. And I think that's something that's the danger of being a self-distributor, because it takes you away from doing the thing that you want to do. But the more self-distribution stuff, I should say, is I like the idea of when somebody orders a copy of Out There Halloween Mega Tape from us, or any of this stuff, but specifically Out There, they get a box in the mail from Trader Tony's Tape Dungeon, and Trader Tony's Tape Dungeon. Yeah. So Trader Tony's Tape Dungeon is part of the narrative universe. So with the original WNF, you're not really clear who taped this off the VCR. I mean, I guess theoretically it's Harvest, right? Because there's that shit at the end that obviously would only be on their tape. But with the sequel, you're buying the movie to basically help raise funds for Trader Tony, who had a mail order tape trading catalog and a bootleg tape trading operation in the 90s, and then went to jail for violating Section 501 of the FBI's bootleg code. So the idea of inviting fans into the universe, the mythology, by the second they get that box with his post PO box on there, that's fucking rad to me. And I mean, it's something we took really seriously. Henry Zabrowski of Last Podcast does the commentary on the DVD as Trader Tony, and it's we were trying to create this whole mythology about what this thing really is. And then that's the other thing too. My lockdown project, when we were supposed to shoot Out There 2020. That was supposed to be our plan. Shoot it basically spring 2020 and into the fall 2020. Well, obviously we had other things got fucked up because of COVID. So during that time, I did something that I was planning on doing, but I had the luxury of having a lot many more hours to do this. So if you get the VHS level bundle, it comes with a full mail order catalog from Trader Tony with 350 fake movies that you could buy from his catalog. So that whole catalog, I spent months working on when we couldn't shoot the movie. So all these fake descriptions for nunsploitation movies, fetish tapes, kung fu movies, all these weirdo horror movies, lost TV specials, all this shit that was very much in world. I did. And that was something that was really special. And that's the type of thing that if I was making a movie, a lot of times now it's people essentially have you make a movie for to go straight to streaming, or you go just one of these little horror streaming sites. You're essentially flipping houses, right? You're finding what's the cheap movie I can make in a month and get it on the air in 6 months. The luxury of what I do, for better or for worse, is the fact that I can take a long time and really just do kinds of weird shit and try stuff but I'm there's no deadline because it's I choose the deadline, and that was Trader Tony's Tape Dungeon was really being like, all right, I'll just fucking crack open a bottle of wine with Melissa and we'll spend all night coming up with fake titles, and then the next couple of days I'll write blurbs for a bunch of crazy fucking movies.
Yeah, that's how mine came, and I had no idea what I was opening at first because I was like, what the fuck is Trader Joe's Tape Dungeon? And I did come from a generation of tape trading. I grew up watching a lot of, like, wrestling and shit, and we would trade tapes back in the day off of like eBay, and that's how I would get horror movies too. Like when I was a kid, you couldn't buy Evil Dead, so I got a copy someone had rented and hooked 2 VCRs together, and I got it off some number I got out of the back of a magazine. That's
my same experience. That's my same experience, man. I mean, the first tape I bought bootleg was and like I remember like my mom, when I got the mail order catalog, she like had to like open the mail order catalog and be like, let me read this before you read this. And I'm convinced, God bless my mom, because she was a hardworking, like, middle class mom that clearly did not have the energy to read through a whole fucking like 30-page catalog, because there's no fucking way I should have had this catalog. Like some of the descriptions of movies. Anyway, that being said, but the first tape I bought was a compilation of Sam Raimi's short films, and it was because I loved Evil Dead so much. And seeing Evil Dead for the first time was because I watched a really, really heavily edited version on Sci-Fi Channel. They showed like a really crazily edited version. Oh wow. But yeah.
So what's next for you?
So I am so Melissa and I are actually co-directing a movie. We got a little bit of money, actually. We're not self-funding this next one. It's supposed to shoot initially, it's supposed to be March or April. I think it's probably going to be pushed to April now because we have some stuff to worry about. But it's I'm not allowed to announce who's giving us money. It's not a massive budget, but it's bigger than we've ever had. And it's a horror comedy. It's a mockumentary. But not most of the stuff isn't announced yet. I mean, if you follow me on social, I posted something with the title of the movie, looking for locations near Baltimore. So that's like, you could, find that on Instagram. That's what we're doing next. But basically it's like, I'm not allowed to like talk about it yet because that'll probably come out in some sort of like horror trade or something in the next like probably 2 months. But yeah.
Awesome.
I'm stoked. I mean, like, it's really cool. Yeah.
Very exciting stuff, baby. Very exciting stuff. I love to hear, independent artists, independent filmmakers out here doing bigger and better things. So I like it. You're keeping secrets. You're making it hush hush, sweet Charlotte. But baby, it's titillizing. It is titillizing to the titillizing degree. And I can't wait to see what comes out next of Mr. I got it right this time, Chris LaMartina.
Thank you so much. I've got to remember to start using titillizing.
Yes. Holy guacamole, goodness gracious gravy, ooh la la c'est la vie. It's been a pleasure for you and me on Real Vile having Mr. Chris LaMartina.
Before we get you off, why don't you plug where they can order your stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can get a copy of Out There Halloween Mega Tape as well as WNF Halloween Special and a bunch of other titles and t-shirts and things at WNUF.BigCartel.com. But yeah, check it out.
All right, thanks for coming on and talking with us, man. It was
a
great guest. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate the love and support. Thank y'all.
Yeah, man.
Of course.
Cheers.
Keep making them. We'll keep watching them.
Hell yeah.
Have a good night, baby. Ow! Oh my goodness gracious gravy. That was so cool. That was so great. I thoroughly enjoyed having Mr. LaMartina on here talking about all that goodness that he's been putting out. What did you guys think about having our special guest on tonight? Mr. Ruthless Chris, Killer Kelly, chime in, will you? Please, one time.
He was great, man.
Having Chris on.
One at a time, baby doll. One at a time. Let me direct this the way I direct everything around here, baby. Let me say this. Okay, when you stop laughing, Mr. Ruthless Chris, you first. What did you think about that interview we just did?
It was great talking to Chris. Definitely check out his movies. Call Girl Cthulhu was great. Definitely check out that Out There Halloween Mega Tape. It made my top 10 list of films, my favorite movies last year. Definitely worth checking out. I had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, man.
Killer Kelly, how you feeling?
Yeah, he had a lot to say. We had some fun conversation there. That was good. And yes, the Halloween mega tape. That was a hoot. That was a fucking hoot. I recommend it.
All right, well, do yourselves a favor. Get yourselves over to that website. Get yourself some Halloween mega tape. And in the meantime, I'm going to leave you with this. Keep it spooky. Keep it creepy. Keep it real vile forever. And God bless America. Send nudes. Ow! Hey, all you cats and kittens, all you ladies and lady killers out there in real vile land. This is your old pal, Mr. Germ T. Ripper, saying keep it spooky, keep it creepy, keep it real vile forever. And don't forget, like, subscribe, and share all our content. Ow!